Welcome to Cheese in Depth. I'm Michael Landis, and today's sponsor is Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin. With over 1,200 licensed cheesemakers in the only state that requires a license to make cheese, they are also the only place outside of Europe with a Master Cheese program. Today, I'm talking with Pam Hodgson and also TW Bacon. And Pam is a Wisconsin Master Cheesemaker. Pam Hodgson has been a Master Cheesemaker at Sartori since 2013. As only the second female in the country to become a Master Cheesemaker, Pam is a pioneer in the industry and at Sartori. The rigorous program required Pam to dedicate more than 10 years to the art and craft before being a master in fontina and open hard cheese. Her innovation approach to cheesemaking has led to Sartori original creations such as the extra aged goat, MontAmoré Cheddar, Old World Cheddar, and Heritage Cheddar, which we get to taste today. So I'm very excited to get not only to chat with a Master Cheesemaker, but also the actual cheesemaker behind these new Sartori cheeses. All right, so let's introduce you to Pam and to TW. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
I'm excited to be here, and I'm really excited and glad that we're sharing a cheese board. I think today the world needs more cheese boards. And the reason I say that is good food can foster good conversation where people listen as well as speak. And with a good cheese board facilitating that, people can move from beyond seeing differences or seeing people as ideas and positions, and instead see them as humans, as beloved people who we share the earth with. So I'm really excited that we're doing a cheese board today, and I'm excited that we're doing some pairings.
Yeah, very excited to be here, and we're new cheddar cheeses that Sartori is bringing to market this year, and so really, this is a cool opportunity for us to share, and you can learn directly from the Master Cheesemaker, Pam herself, on these new cheddars that we have in market. So it's really a cool opportunity to learn from a master. So first off, I'm TW Bacon, and I'm the Director of Marketing at Sartori Cheese, based in the cheese capital of the world, Plymouth, Wisconsin. And so Sartori is a family-owned cheese company since 1939. We're currently in our fourth generation, which is incredibly unique and special. We're very proud of that heritage. In fact, our owner, Jim Sartori, has a lot of grandkids, which will be the fifth generation in the Sartori family, which we're all incredibly excited about, and hope that I'm still around to see that. And so we've been family owned and operated since 1939, and our mission is to make the best cheese in the world, and that's been our mission ever since we set out in 1939. It's incredibly ambitious and something that we strive for every single day, knowing that you may never get there, but when you arrive at your post every day, that's everybody's mindset to do a little bit more than they did yesterday to try and achieve that goal of making the best cheese in the world. So it's something that we are really proud of, and making the quality cheese that we have for over 80 years is something that we're dedicated to, and really proud of the craftsmanship and heritage that we have within making great cheese. Our founder, Paolo Sartori, came over from Italy, and Wisconsin is our home. And as I mentioned, our corporate office is in Plymouth, Wisconsin. We also have a cheese make facility in Plymouth, and also up in Anago, Wisconsin. You can see on the slide. And the beautiful thing about Wisconsin is the climate here, along with the soil and the terrain, is really unlike anything else in the world to make great milk. And you can't have great cheese, and you certainly can't make the best cheese in the world if you don't have great milk. And so Wisconsin is a unique combination of variables that allows us to source the freshest, the best milk. And so Wisconsin is a the perfect place for us to make our cheese and have our home here in Eastern Wisconsin. Family is something that's embedded into the culture of the organization. It's one of our core values for our brand and for our company, and that goes to our family farms that we partner with as well. And so, you know, as I mentioned, we can't make great cheese without great milk. And so partnering with family farms across Wisconsin, it allows us to do that. And so when we're looking at the family farms that we partnered with, most of them are within 75 miles of our cheese make facilities. That allows us to get the freshest milk possible. And we pay a premium to all of our family farms in so that we, you know, make sure that we get the highest quality, and we can foster those long-term partnerships over the course of generations. It's important to us. And we also enter into agreements with the family farms that we partner with to take all of their milk, which is in times like these is incredibly important as well. And it's something that's really important to our company. And it's not just when you buy a wedge of Sartori cheese or a brick of Sartori cheese, you're not only supporting the team members and the brand that in Plymouth, but you're also supporting multi-generational family farms across Wisconsin, which is incredibly important as well. So that's something that has been a part of our heritage throughout our history, and will continue to be as time goes on, and we continue to expand our portfolio and grow our business across the country.
So Pam, tell us about your cheese making journey.
It's a long journey. Thank you for bringing that up, Michael. In 1991, I took a job in the cheese plant. It was a job. It was good, honest work. I wanted to help support my family. And once I got into the plant, I just fell in love with the process. So I started in quality. From there, I went into operations. Eventually became the head cheesemaker, the head starter maker of that facility, and was going quite swimmingly along with that until I was downsized. And at that point, I had to decide, what do I want to do next? What do I want to do? And the phone rang. Sartori called. My boss was like, let's sit down and talk. We talked about what I could do. He talked about the aspirations that Sartori Cheese had, where the company wanted to go. And together, we created a position that could leverage what I could do and where Sartori wanted to go. That was in 2005. In 2013, I became a master cheesemaker. And at this point, a lot of my focus is not only to make really great cheese, but it's also to develop the team. When you pick up a piece of Sartori cheese, and TW mentioned this a little bit too, it's really like we're seeing the top of an iceberg, or we're seeing the tip of a mountain. Behind that piece of cheese, there's our artisans that are making the cheese, and behind them are family farms that provide us with high quality milk. Without high quality milk, as cheesemakers, we'll never succeed if we do not have good milk to start with. So every piece of cheese really represents an entire pyramid of effort going into it.
So did you start off making what kind of cheese?
Originally, I made American style cheeses such as cheddar, MontAmoré Jack, and Colby. I also made some Colby Jack and some other mixed curd cheeses.
So how'd the transition work out?
Great. One of the things I really like about Sartori, well, there's a lot of things I really like about it, but one of the things that really comes to mind is how much we value creativity and innovation. So for today, we're going to try 3 different cheddars. They're made in the Italian tradition. I mean, Italian cheddar is not an Italian cheese, but we take what we know and what we do as Italian cheesemakers, and we translate that into 3 unique, very flavorful cheddars. I know we'll spend more time on the cheddars later when we do the tasting, but one thing that's very unique about how we approach this at Sartori is most cheddar makers will make 1 cheddar And some of it they'll sell young as a mild, some of it they'll age a little bit longer and sell it as a medium. Some they might age even longer and sell it as a sharp or even an extra sharp. What we're doing at Sartori is we start out with 3 unique cheeses. All of them have been aged a long time, and all of them are unique and different. So instead of having one recipe and selling it at different ages, we have 3 different recipes that we're selling them at probably about the same time roughly, but they're 3 unique different cheeses and cheese flavors. So that's a little bit different, but it kind of ties into our heritage as Italian cheesemakers. When we think about Parmesan, there isn't a mild Parmesan, a medium Parmesan, and a sharp Parmesan. There's Parmesan. So it kind of plays into what we do there. And then the other thing that is a core philosophy at Sartori is we want to be inspired by the greatest cheeses out there, whether they're from Europe or from the United States. We respect a well-made piece of cheese, no matter where it's from. That said, we're not interested in copying or knocking off somebody else's great cheese. We go into cheese making saying we want to be inspired, we want inspiration, but we're not interested in imitation. So as we taste the cheeses today, we'll find some unique flavors, some unique cheddars that I think fit very well in the marketplace.
So we talk about American originals all the time, Monterey Jack, Humboldt Fog, cheeses like that. So do these cheddars fall into that category?
MontAmoré definitely fits into that category. I'm not sure when we get to the pairing part, but MontAmoré is definitely American original.
What's one of the differentiations that you use to talk about Sartori?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, we have a very, I guess, a balanced portfolio of specialty cheeses. And so I guess I'll start with what we're best known for, which is our Bellavitano line, our flavored Italian hard cheeses. And so, really that equity we have in flavor is something that we can hang our hat on. I mean, there's a lot of new entries in that space, whether it's soaked or rubbed cheeses, but nobody has the Bellavitano cheese type that we do, and the expertise that we have in hand rubbing and soaking the cheeses that we do. And so that is something that is definitely provides a lot of equity for our brand, and is what we're known for across the US, and something that we are constantly trying to innovate in so that we can maintain that flavor leadership. We're trying to introduce new flavors at least on an annual basis, so we can keep things fresh, and we have new and exciting news in that space, so we can continue to own that leadership position in flavor. Cheddars now we are incredibly excited about a new frontier, and we believe strongly that the cheddar segment in specialty cheese is ripe for disruption. It's a huge category, but a lot of the cheeses that are in that space are very simplistic single note experiences, and where we as a team have created, as Pam alluded to, these very complex, balanced flavor experiences for people that we think are incredibly different and ladder up in premium in the cheddar space. And so we're incredibly excited about our new entrance into that space. If you've ever had MontAmoré Cheddar, everyone knows how wonderful and different that cheese is. It's definitely a fan favorite. And these 2 new cheddars that we have are definitely great complements and build on the equity that we built in MontAmoré in cheddar. And I can tell you that's just the beginning. I mean, Pam and the team are continuing to work on other innovation in cheddar, and it's something for us that's going to be a big platform for growth that we're incredibly excited about. And we feel that our brand can play a much bigger role in that space in the years to come, by not just taking one block of cheese and aging it, as Pam mentioned, but everything offers an incredibly unique and complex flavor experience for consumers. And so we feel strongly that that's a space that's going to provide a lot of great experiences for our patrons, but also growth for our brand.
And to build on that, making 3 different aged cheddars it makes us better cheesemakers, because if a cheesemaker makes a mistake, they might sell that bat as a mile. For us, we don't have that outlet. We need to make every bat perfectly, and our cheesemakers are up to that. You know, it's like game on, let's go. We're gonna do it.
So what's in the process of the development of a new cheese?
There's a lot in that, and I've been in the dairy industry really my whole life, but working in a cheese plant since 1991. And what I find is nothing is ever wasted. Any piece of knowledge that I've picked up over the years is never wasted. Even the fails, some of the epic fails, I've still learned something from it. And sometimes it's just as important to know what not to do as well as what to do. And I'm very grateful to Sartori, because we have a culture of innovation, which means one can fail and still come to work the next day. So I definitely have some things that I learned I'll never do it again. But I've also learned a lot over the years. So as we try the 3 cheeses before us today, there's a lot of starter Jedi magic, cheesemaker Jedi magic. Our starter cultures are our workhorses as far as developing flavor, and we're building on our Italian heritage and Italian knowledge on what starters we're using to create 3 different cheeses. Basically we're starting with the same milk and we're ending up in 3 very different places. A lot of it has to do with our heritage and our knowledge of starter bacteria cultures.
I would just add that we, as far as the process goes, it's something that I think we've, over the last few years, we've done a nice job of collaboration between Pam's team from an R&D perspective, and then from a marketing and sales aspect, trying to combine the expertise that we have in heritage in making great cheese, and combining that with where our customers and our patrons are at in the marketplace, and trying to combine those 2 things together has been incredibly important, and has led to some great extensions for us flavor-wise, and we'll continue. And we have a heck of a lot of fun doing it. We're making cheese, and so that should be fun. And so that's something I think we found a nice groove in terms of that collaborative process between the R&D and the scientific side, the intellectual side, and then more from a marketing and sales aspect, trying to combine where our customers and our consumers are at in the marketplace.
Without getting into specific cheeses, Pam, when you are working with the aging cave, when you're extending them out, there are cheddars out there that are 3 months, and there are cheddars that are out there for 4, 5, 6 years. So how do you determine that these are the right time and the right amount of aging?
Yes, that's an excellent question. The process that we use at Sartori is we will run trial bats. We'll try different things, and then periodically throughout the aging period, we'll go to the cheese cave, to the aging facility, and try the different cheeses, and we'll see where they're optimal, what ages they are, and we'll also continue that aging process, because we want to know how the story ends. We want to know how long a cheese will hold to form. So it's a matter of letting the cheese speak, starting with what you know, making the cheese, and then letting it tell you what it should be.
So do you continually make the cheese and then keep testing it with all the batches behind it?
It depends on the product. For the development of the cheeses we have today. No, they were made as part of a series of trial vats. We have, just in the last year, we've experimented with a half dozen or more different possible cheddars, and then we'll pick the best ones from all of those to go forward with. So we'll weigh it. And that's one of the things that I think about sometimes too, because we'll run a vat, we'll monitor it, we'll evaluate it, we'll find what its voice is, and we'll wait before the best ones come to right to the top. And it makes you think about how many chances a cheesemaker gets in their lifetime, right? So say we have a cheese that requires 10 months to age. So we're maybe waiting 10 months before we make another vat of that. How many chances in your lifetime do you get to develop a cheese that requires a long hold? We're not here today to talk about our Cervecchio Parmesan, but that cheese is aged for 20 months. That's a long time commitment to develop a cheese like that.
So TW, how's that work for your world? You get cheeses coming out and then it's standby and wait for the next cheese.
Yeah, I think the way we've tried to build our innovation process over the course of the last year is being a bit more strategic in terms of identifying, key launch windows and platforms that we want to get behind. And so we've been able to build the timelines accordingly and making sure that we're hitting those key milestones and launch windows that we want for our key customers. And so we've gotten a lot better at that over the course of the last couple of years. So when we have longer age cycles in some of the cheeses, that we're able to back up and say, all right, we know we want to launch in January. We're able to back that up and figure what that is from a first shipment time frame, and then do all the development work on design and those types of things. So it's a part of that collaborative process that we have, and working with Pam and her team and having a good understanding on how long that process works. And then me and my team can take it from there and develop all the materials that we need so that we're ready to hit the ground running on a launch basis when the time comes. So it works out pretty well for us, at least it has over the course of the last couple of years.
Pam, we had a quick question from Rebecca, and she wanted to know what are the ages of each of these cheeses? And I know we're going to get into more detail, but just kind of general.
In general, 10 months. Surprisingly, one of the more flavorful cheeses on our cheese plate today, we don't quite age that long. It doesn't need as much time to develop the flavor. But in general, it seems like we need 10 months to get something really aged, full flavored.
And I think that's where, I say there's room for significant disruption in cheddars, is that I think as consumers, we're trained to look for age in cheddar, because that's the way the category has been. We make one kind of cheese and age it different dates to get stronger flavor. And I think what we're saying here from what Pam and the team have been able to do is we can create incredibly unique experiences without age. So I'm not saying age is completely irrelevant, but it does not play a significant role in the complexity and the flavor experience that we're able to deliver in our line of cheddars, which is a very different way of looking at it versus what some of the other cheddars that you see in the set today.
So we see classifications of cheddar from mild to sharp to super sharp to incredibly and all of that. And then we see aged cheddars that go through there and bandaged wrap. So do you think that you have your own coined descriptions?
I think what we're saying is that what we've learned is what is more important, at least from our side, is that if you look at our cheddars, each one has its own naming convention. And then we have two words that very quickly describe what you can expect, whether it's smooth and creamy, aged and sharp. I mean, it's a very quick description on what the patron can expect, and so that's something that we've learned is very relevant and useful. And then when you try it, it reinforces like, oh yeah, okay, that does add up. So it's making it a lot easier to understand, because what we've learned is that, you know, what I would try and think of as a sharp Pam might be incredibly different, and Michael, you might be even, you know, different from that. And so it's a very, you might ask 100 people to define something as sharp or not, and you're going to get incredibly different answers. There's not one fixed standard. And so trying to anchor in something that is a bit more tangible than just sharpness, mild, medium, extra sharp, Vermont sharp, New York sharp, Wisconsin sharp, whatever it might be, it's just a bit more useful from what we've learned from a patron perspective. And so that's what you'll see on our line of cheddars is, instead of ages, we're trying to just anchor very, very quickly in a 2-word description on what you can expect from a flavor perspective.
Well, we see the correlation sometimes in brewers with the beers, and you have a West Coast IPA, you have an East Coast IPA, you have other coast IPA, and so you have the same beer, like the same cheddar, but different direction. So how is it that you guys decided to go? Is it just going to be a Sartori thing in flavor? It's yours.
I would say yes. I mean, I feel confident in saying that it'd be very, very difficult for somebody to replicate what we are bringing forward. East Coast, West Coast, we're North Coast, Wisconsin, Midwest. You know, what we're able to bring to the table is definitely a unique flavor profile that is incredibly different, and that's why we're really excited about what the potential for our brand is in this segment, because we really haven't played a big role as of yet. And as you know, as I mentioned, it's a huge segment, obviously, but a lot of cheeses that lack some of the complexity, and they're great cheeses, but they're not able to bring to the table some of the things that we can with our brand, and some of the things that we feel are ownable and can really help differentiate our brand in this space. So I feel confident saying yes, that this is something that's definitely ownable for Sartori cheese.
I think there's room for any cheese that's good. There's room for everybody. If you make a good product, there's room. Really, the thing I'd like to emphasize, you know, we tend to put, I'll think of America's greatest team, the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, TW is not a Packer fan. And a lot of times it'll be, you know, like Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers face whoever, right? And I think that's just how we are culturally. But what I find is cheese making is incredibly, teamwork is incredibly important for cheese making. Our success at Sartori comes because we have a dedicated team of artisans who work hard every day, do the best they can, bring good ideas, bring observations, and I really want to raise up the entire team we have at Sartori, and that strong team goes beyond the plants too. I'm incredibly thankful that we have talented people, say in finance, and all the way around. And sometimes we'll put the cheesemaker on a pedestal, but really it takes a team to be successful. And I feel very blessed by the team I have at Sartori.
All right, Pam, we got another question. This is from Chris. Do your cheese cultures drift over time in flavor profile? And if so, how do you maintain consistency over time? Can you speak to the seasonal flavor differences in milk and its impact?
We see more drift in milk than we do in our cultures, but we treat our cheese cultures as if they are our children. That's the kind of love and care they get, and that might explain their consistency over time. As far as milk definitely changes seasonally. As cheesemakers, our challenge is to listen to the process and so by listening to the process, we make small tweaks along the way. Our goal is, even though we start in a slightly different place every day, our goal is to end up at the same place, so that every bite, say you're a MontAmoré fan, every bite of MontAmoré, you're going to get what you expect. You're going to get that same great flavor. Our first cheese that we have to try today is our MontAmoré Cheddar. And I think I alluded to it earlier. Sometimes I feel a lot of pressure when I put together a cheese board, because I know what good food can do for a conversation and to bring people together. So then that leads me to think, well, I need to absolutely have the perfect pairing, right? Because I want to have this right. And as a master cheesemaker at Sartori, I feel a lot of pressure too. And then I come to MontAmoré. This cheese pairs so well with so many different cheeses. I will admit I'm a beer drinker, and I find that this cheese will stand up to the most robust stout or porter. Yet it also pairs well with an amber ale or an IPA. It pairs well with dark chocolate, with mission figs, pistachios. It pairs well with pretzels. Of course, everything pairs well with pretzels. So as far as pairings, MontAmoré is my #1 go-to cheese, because it plays so well with so many other flavors. As people try it, what we'll taste is it's very creamy. There's a little bit of a acidic tang. It's kind of tangy, but it also has some fruitiness too. And I think because we have so many different flavors going on there, that's probably part of why it pairs so well. Typically, for pairings, we either want to be similar or we want to contrast. Well, here we have a lot going, so there's a lot of pairings that'll work.
I mean, this is MontAmoré is my favorite cheese. In full transparency, I mean, it's a fan favorite. Everywhere we go, this is one that everyone always loves. We've done a lot of events where just fun, like build your own cheese board events, and MontAmoré is probably the most versatile, to Pam's point, and we've done everything you can imagine. We've even done a shooter with MontAmoré and Pop Rocks at an event that we did somewhere. Pam probably wouldn't be endorsed by Pam, but that was one that was a lot of fun and people enjoyed. So this one is just a lot of fun to play with, and it definitely works in with a lot of different pairings, because it's such an awesome cheese and just such a great experience. It's certainly something that has to be experienced, and I wish I could get some in everybody in the country's mouth, because it's just such an awesome cheddar.
Yeah, it's not an easy cheese to make. It can be a little temperamental to make, but we're up to the challenge.
This is one of my favorite cheeses. I've done this many times in classroom and also in events at cooking schools and that. And I've had a plethora of styles of pairing with this. But today, what I wanted to do was to take on some of the characteristic flavors of this. This has some unique flavor that you don't typically find, and I think this is the whole point, that you find in all cheddars. It's that little hint of that Parmesan, the Asiago, something that's lying in that background that really balances this, gives it a nice sweetness, gives it a tanginess, gives it a butteriness. So there's all this complexity that works in there. And so I don't want to overpower it too much, but I do want to have fun with this. And I love this because I can do so many things. I've done pineapple with this and it works really well. But today I'm going to use the Preservation Society, their pepper jelly. And this is it's a 4 pepper jelly with a little bit of apple cider vinegar to kind of cool the heat, and then a brewer's cracker that's just sea salt. Just want to make it really simple. I don't want it to go crazy. IPAs generally are my first direction for cheddars, but this isn't your typical cheddar. So I went with the Boston Beer Company, Sam Adams Boston Lager, which is a Vienna lager style. Lots of great grain to it. You can see how amber this lager is, where you get those others that are pure clear. This has got a lot of maltiness to it, which plays on the butter, plays on the simple flavors of the cheddar. So what do you usually pair with this?
One of the things that I really like about MontAmoré and well, cheese in general is how well it pairs with beer. As I said earlier, I'm not really a wine drinker, I'm a beer drinker. And I love how the dairy notes, the creaminess of MontAmoré, how that reacts with the carbonation in the beer. I just think they go together so well.
And I live in Wisconsin, but I don't drink beer. I don't drink it all actually, but my favorite, thing that I think a lot of people don't necessarily, it's not, maybe not their first choice, but I love pairing chocolate, especially dark chocolate with MontAmoré. It's no matter what the time of year, that's something that is always fun. I think it's very surprising to people when you have it out and have them try it. And I think it's, I have a bad sweet tooth, so it definitely fits with that as well. So that's one of my favorite things, is a good dark chocolate.
A while back, I did a webinar with David Gremmels and his cheddar, and he was pairing it with a coffee, a cold coffee that was absolutely fabulous. So it doesn't have to be a frosty beverage, a wine. There's a lot of things that do pair well with cheddars.
Mm-hmm.
And coffee definitely would pair well because you have the dairy notes and then the bitterness with the coffee. That's a good pairing as well. Our next cheese is our Heritage Cheddar. Flavors you'll find here is kind of like a bright sharpness, bright sharp cheddar notes, and it pairs well with peppered salami, pesto and herb crackers, apricot preserves, and it'll do well with an IPA as well.
Yeah, this one is one of our new cheddar. So MontAmoré was our first item that we had in the cheddar space. So Heritage and Old World, the next two are the two newest cheddars that are launching nationally just this year, the beginning of this year. So Heritage is brand new. In the times that when I have it in the fridge, what I like to pair it with the most, and Pam mentioned it, is a really good salami. I like spicy meats, and so a good spicy salami is definitely my go-to for this one. But we've gotten slow build due to COVID in terms of distribution, but it's definitely ramping up on this one, and we're definitely seeing some real spikes in sales where we have it in. So there is beginning to be a good amount of patron and traction as well with this item. So it's beginning to be recognized in the marketplace, and people are trying it out, which is incredibly exciting.
When I was looking at this, and we did my first tasting earlier, one of the things that I did like about it is that the contrast that we have between the two. Pam, you want to describe what you get out of the contrast between the two, between the MontAmoré and Heritage?
Yes, they're totally two different cheddars. I mean, they're just going in two different directions, yet both of them are very flavorful. Lot of flavor intensity, but in different directions. And texturally, you'll see that as well. MontAmoré is going to have a more crumbly texture. There's part of that is a function of the flavors being developed. And then the Heritage is flavorful too, but it has a very smooth texture. It plays very well in a sliced format, which MontAmoré has always rebelled against being sliced, basically.
And I would just say when you have three cheddars in this space that, you know, we're not, you know, we've talked a lot about age, and it's not something that is what we're using to differentiate our items. So it's incredibly important that there is a significant amount of difference between them. Each one of them has to stand on their own. So I think to your point, Michael, that's definitely intentional, and Pam and the team have developed 3 very unique flavor experiences, and texturally as well. And even, you know, visually, when you look at the bricks, there's a lot of visual distance between the 3 of them. So it's important when you're not aging them different from different time frames, that, and you have 3 unique flavors, that they're definitely stand up, and there is enough difference between the 3. And I think, you know, what you'll find is that these 3 definitely are 3 very unique flavor experiences for our patrons.
I was trying to think about some of the pairings that I've done in the past with cheddars and this being a bit more tangier than what the MontAmoré is, a little bit stronger, a little bit more robust. And as you said, Pam, about that it goes better with an IPA, it can stand up to the hops in that. I love tangy, sharp cheddars with chocolate. But this isn't just one way. There's so many little things in it. So the only thing that I could think of was that it needed maybe a little bit of sweet contrast to the chocolate. So I decided that I would go with the Savanna bee honey with that's whipped honey with chocolate. How about that? Little chocolate whipped honey on here. And you know, it doesn't need a cracker. This is more than enough.
It's interesting. I like how you picked up on the tang, or, you know, we might even call that acidity in this cheese. And there's a tang in MontAmoré as well, but it's a totally different kind of acidity between the 2 cheeses.
It is. So with that acidity, I really wanted to kind of keep that going, but also I wanted to have something that would bring out more of the butter. So I went with, this is a Gypsy Circus cider out of Tennessee. And this is an orange blossom style, and it's got some really rich flavors to it. Apple, sweet apple. So the cheddar and the apple and the flavors there are just really match. They work well together. And then add the chocolate and honey to it. It's pretty substantial flavors across the board, but the cheese handles them. You don't lose the cheese in this process. A lot of times you do a pairing and that's all you taste is what you're pairing it with is. But you know, the intensity that you have with this cheese, the strength that it has, it really pairs up really well. You can take this anywhere. You could, you know, bring it on to anybody's house because it gives you enough flavors. It will pair up. I could imagine using this in several cooking recipes where you really need a little bit more strength.
As we go to our 3rd very flavorful cheddars, this is one of the struggles we have. So typically we'll set up a tasting or a cheese board where we'll start with our least intense flavors and we'll build from there, right? Because otherwise, if you start super intense, maybe you lose some of the subtleties of some of the other cheeses. Well, here's our challenge. We have 3 cheeses that all have a fair amount of flavor intensity. How do we go through that and end up so that we can really appreciate the subtleties of each one? So we're going to finish with our Old World Cheddar. To me, Old World Cheddar is your classic warm apple pie cheddar. Every slice of apple pie deserves to be served warm with a slice of good cheddar on top of it. Here in the Old World, we get a lot of buttery notes. We get a lot of that umami, that savoriness. It pairs very well with apples, whether it's in a pie or if it's Fuji apples on the side. It'll pair well with almonds, and even like a baguette with cherry preserves. And I think it does well as far as beverages. It'll do well with the stout, as will MontAmoré.
TW.
Yeah, this one for me, they're all three of these are wonderful cheddars. Old World, I really enjoy with an apple. I mean, I would eat it in apple pie, no doubt about it. But this one is just such a simple snack to cut up an apple in the fall and eat it with Old World and a handful of almonds. I mean, it's a very easy. Our cheeses are, we're a premium artisan cheese company, but all of these cheeses are they don't have to be brought out just during special occasions during the holiday. These can be eaten on a Tuesday night as a snack as well. And so this one for me is a go-to in my cheese drawer in the refrigerator when I'm looking for a quick snack with apples, almonds, etc. This one definitely is also. I think this one's going to end up being another fan favorite in our portfolio because it is a fantastic cheddar. And the blue is just such an amazing design. Like that design just always pops whenever I see it, not only in the picture but on the shelf. Like that just really pops, and the design I think is really sharp and arresting on shelf when all three of them are together.
Originally, when I did the tasting, I wanted to pair it up with some charcuterie, and so I thought it'd be clever because Volpi does an heritage prosciutto that's slow aged for 18 months, and I thought I'll do that with the heritage cheddar. It didn't work, I mean, sometimes. I mean, it's okay, but I really lost the subtleties of the prosciutto. And so I tried it with the Old World, and like you said, it's got such softness to it that with the sweet, buttery flavor of the prosciutto and the richness and buttery flavor of the cheese, it's an amazing pairing, match together. And you don't need a cracker with this. However, I found that they really just kind of settle in really easy together. And there wasn't a lot of, it was nice. And you could eat the whole thing. You could eat all 7 ounces and eat all the prosciutto. And it was like, yeah. So I thought, okay, I need to kick this up a little bit. So I picked up the Taste Elevated, and this is sweet and tangy mustard seeds. And so these are, soaked mustard seeds. They're really soft. So you got a little sweet, little tangy, prosciutto, and the cheese.
Nice pairing.
With all that flavor, as much as the apples and the cider would probably work really well, I wanted something that would enhance all of it, but it would stand up. And so I went with the Sierra Nevada, this hop bullet. And alone with the cheese, it's a little over, just a little. You got to be a big hop fan to like the hop bullet in the first place. So the cheddar actually brings the hops down a little bit, and the beer brings the butter up a little bit, so you get a nice balance. But when you put all these together, the mustard seed, the prosciutto, the cheese, and then the beer, it's a pretty big thing together.
Nice.
Well, Margaret, ask what you do at Sartori.
Me or
me?
It says, what does bacon do for Sartori?
That's a good question. I think a lot of people are wondering that. But yeah, I'm the director of marketing, and so I work with a team of folks on the marketing and sales side to really own the brand and how it shows up in the marketplace, and manage our innovation process and new items on the shelf. Social media, all brand touch points. That's all me and my team. And so Pam and I work together very, very closely on new items that we're bringing to market, like the new cheddars. And we've got a number of projects in the hopper right now that we're incredibly excited about that our teams overlap on. So that's why we're here today as a dynamic duo. She is certainly the brains of the operation, no doubt about it. My job is just to is Pam's handler most of the time, and trying to make sure that, you know, we're getting the brand story out there, as long as in addition to the expertise that we have in cheese making and the science that goes into making these great cheeses.
I always thought you were here to harass me about my favorite football team.
No, yeah, that's just another perk to the job. So I'm from Minnesota, and my last name is Bacon, which is also funny working for a cheese company. But I'm the only like non-Packer fan probably here in Eastern Wisconsin, so we have a lot of fun with that as well.
We'll bring you over.
Yeah, I don't know.
Any last things you want to say before we conclude our wonderful pairings and information?
I really want to thank you, Michael, and everyone who helped make this possible so that we had this opportunity to share our cheeses. I think the world can use a little more joy, and a place to start is with good food. So thank you.
I'd echo that. I mean, this is a great, thank you so much. This is awesome. It's really fun to talk about the great cheeses that we're bringing to market. It's always, I always love working with Pam and getting her exposure to a broader audience, given that she's on the top of her field as a master cheesemaker, and one of only 2 female master cheesemakers in the United States. Is a really cool thing and a great representative for the industry. And you know, for us to be able to be here is a lot of fun, and it's really cool. So we appreciate the opportunity.
Well, it's my pleasure having both of you on. I not only just want to thank you two, but also thank Ling, because she did a tremendous amount of work to get this together, to organize it, and I really appreciate that. This doesn't happen just because the 3 of us sit down and say, hey, let's get together. There's a lot of people behind this that helps out, so I appreciate that. It's wonderful to see you again, Pam, TW. I'm sure we'll run into each other, hopefully in San Francisco in January, and everything goes well there.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
All right. You guys take care. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So everybody else, thank you so much for listening in and spending a little bit of time with us. We really enjoy being able to sit down with the cheesemakers and listen to their stories and talk to them about what they got going on. So it's really a lot of fun, and hopefully you enjoyed that. This will be available on my YouTube channel, Michael Landis Cheese, in the next couple of days. So you can, if you miss the cheeses, you can order them from Sartori, or you can sit down, bring all your friends together. And remember that when you buy a piece of cheese, you're not just supporting the cheesemaker or the company, you're supporting families. You're supporting farmer families, cheesemakers families, people who box cheese. So, you know, there's probably, not to scare anybody, but there's a lot of hands that goes on with that piece of cheese. So, you know, it's greatly appreciated that everybody's supporting them and that. And I really enjoyed being able to spend some time with you. And if you have any questions, reach out to me at Michael Landis Cheese. So you guys take care. And we'll see you next week. So again, thank you for watching Cheese in Depth. I'm Michael Landis. Today's webinar was sponsored by the great folks at Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin. So really appreciate their support and everything that they do. So take care, be safe, wash your hands.